Hey Linda, I'm really sorry for taking so long to get back to you about making this video. The it's Here's my thing about the guy's video for altar servers. I want to make it clear that I'm not I'm not knocking the place that he's coming from. I can understand that he's coming from a place of devotion where he wants other people to be able to, show respect and be reverent during the liturgy. But the problem is, I think that words like respect and reverent kind of they're interpreted in terms of appearance. Okay, the so when we say I want you to look respectful, I want you to look reverent, what I mean to say is I want you to look good. Okay, and the problem is that kids, they live in a world of judgment. I mean, it's always historically been awkward enough to be a teenager, but now in the Facebook era where they live in an era of constant 24/7 judgment, right? They're used to being they're used to being looked at under microscopes. They're used to this kind of constant ongoing analysis. And I feel like the language that we speak to them as church has to come from a different place. Now, yeah, the twiddling the thumbs and the constant fidgeting during liturgy and the eye searches and the looking around, yeah, these are things to be dealt with, right? But these aren't just actions that have to be corrected. They're actions that tell us something about the interiority, right? Because we are body and soul, and where one goes, the other one goes. And it's kind of from that theory that people train altar servers this way, that, we want you to sit with your back straight and your shoulders back and your palms open on your legs, right? And when you're standing, I want you to cross your fingers and, make the 45-degree angle with your hands. And these are good things. But there also can be superficial things. And so I've seen altar servers with very good body language, but then when you look at their eyes during the Holy Liturgy, I mean, you could see that, I mean, they're completely checked out. And that kind of thing breaks my heart. I would rather take a hyperactive, interiorly devout kid as an altar server than one who is externally devout but internally checked out. Because that guy is hot on the road to being an ex-Catholic. The other one, well, their future depends on how I talk to them now. And so I kind of want to take a step back, right? Because if we're going to talk about liturgy, then we have to first we have to reclaim a word, I think. And that word is awesome. Because the way that we interpret the word awesome now, we use it kind of in the same sense as cool, right? Well, that's neat, that's cool, that's awesome. But that's not historically the sense that awesome really tries to express. Historically, the word awe has always been reserved toward God and referred to the sense when one had around them. As a matter of fact, if you look in Scripture, generally whenever you see the word awe appear, you also see the word wonder appear. Awe and wonder. Right? And so it's kind of that sense that when St. John Vianney says that if we really understood the Mass, that we would die of awe, or that if the priest knew his dignity, he would die of joy, this is what he's getting at. Because when we talk about wonder and awe, well, cool isn't a synonym for that, right? The best synonym for that is shell shock or dumbstruck, okay? And so we've all had these little human experiences of being dumbstruck. You get asked out by somebody that you didn't really think liked you, and or your crush says yes to go to prom or whatever, right? Or you get proposed to by your spouse out of nowhere, or you hold your baby the first time and there's not words. People describe these moments like, you go a little bit weak at the knees, you lose your sense of time. It's like somebody hit the pause button, right? this is the feeling that we want, kind of, in liturgy. If people really understood the Mass, there would be an interiority of awe. And I understand the logic of altar server training videos that emphasize posture. Keep your shoulders back, keep your back straight, palms flat on your legs. When you're standing, you make the cross with your thumbs, 45-degree angle to your chest, right? Hands over heart. But the thing is, as where they're trying to kind of teach the exteriority and hope the interiority that will follow, as human beings, we're designed in a way that really, while the exteriority can be a bit of a cruel master, I mean, you look at St. Paul, why do I do these things that I hate, right? The thing is that the interiority is a better master of the exteriority than the exterior of the interiority. As a matter of fact, that's how it was intended. That's how it was with Adam and Eve, with original consonants, right? Is that the interiority had control over the exteriority. And so that still gets expressed with natural human body language. Because if we look any time in Scripture that a heavenly messenger appears to somebody, first thing that has to come out of their mouth is, be not afraid. Well, are they sensing that the person's heart rate has risen? No, because let's be honest. If we're going to be very honest to ourselves, if someone were to ask us, well, what would I do if Jesus Christ appeared to me in his glorified body right now? The correct answer is I'd drop to the floor and I probably wouldn't be able to peel myself up. Jesus would probably have to do that. And so we get this sense that, like, okay, so it's natural to drop to your knees in the presence of a heavenly messenger. So kneeling is a completely natural prayer posture. I don't have to tell people about kneeling. And I don't have to tell them when. They'll recognize when, if I can get them to recognize when, right? Hands folding, hands to heart. Well, now let's look at little kids. Okay, so when a toddler is expressing joy, they can't help but move their hands. They're all Italian until they're 6, right? So you tell the 4-year-old, oh, hey, we're going to Disney World. What do you get? Yeah! Or if they were really hoping for it for a long time and they really wanted it, you're probably going to get that. And that's the point, right? The hands naturally gravitate to the heart to express joy or to express awe. So now I have to be able to figure out how to communicate that to my altar servers, right? Because if I can form the interiority, then the exteriority can't help but follow. And so then we fall back on that phrase, cor et cor loquitur. Heart speaks to heart. How did the disciples recognize Jesus on the road to Damascus? It's because they recognized their hearts were afire. Pope Francis, when he talks about God's natural language, it's the language of the heart. Bunch of homilies about it. So we have to be able to speak in this kind of on fire way to really kind of draw them in, because that's what kids recognize right now: authenticity. I was reading a survey. 38% of kids that left the church as teenagers did so because they didn't see authenticity. They were looking for some kind of a sign that, like, okay, this is legit and people really believe this. And they saw people not living it. And so then there's like, okay, well, now I have my excuse. And I'm not saying that seeing other people, seeing sinners is an excuse to, persevere in sin. But what I'm saying is that they're looking for the authentic, and that the authentic resonates with them. So it seems like the best way to train my altar servers for good body language and for being able to pay attention is to captivate their hearts. And that's where the difficulty is going to come in, is figuring out how to do that. So there are a couple of programs that are geared toward kids in order to kind of use this, this kind of emotionally affirming language, this language of the heart, to help kids engage in the Mass. But you got good parts, bad parts, good parts, bad parts, and you kind of have to piece something together. So I think, unfortunately for right now, there's not going to be an easy answer. It's not going to be a good altar server training video. The good altar server training video is going to be me. I think it was St. Aloysius Gonzaga. There was a Protestant who had been railing against the church, and nobody really believes in the real presence, because I'll bet you as soon as the doors close, they don't kneel. And so he hid underneath the pew, and while St. Aloysius was cleaning up after Mass, the genuflection before the tabernacle was so profound and so loving that the guy was instantly convicted in his heart. He came out from under the pew, apologized, and went back to his church and apologized to all of them for leading them astray. You know, it starts with us. The best altar server training regimen is us. And so then we have to be honest with ourselves. Is my participation in the Mass an act of love? Does my exteriority follow my interiority? Or am I worried about setting a good example and, by assuming body language? And, maybe the kids recognize that and respond, maybe they don't. Maybe they catch on to the interiority there. Heart speaks to heart. And I think that's kind of where I'm at. And this is why I hate those kind of altar server videos. If I can just talk to them about the Mass in an impassioned way and what's really going on, if I can schedule at least a semi-regular altar server retreat, if I can craft some kind of spiritual content for my altar servers, so that not just my language, which reaches them and inflames their hearts, brings them in, but so that we can kind of keep that fire going, then I think that's the path forward. At least right now. I don't know. You tell me.